Hey, congratulations on the second season of City Island.
Thank you so much. Where are you located?
I'm actually located here in California.
Awesome. So nice sunny weather, I hope.
I'm in the middle of the heat wave, so
Oh no, super hot. It's pretty hot here in Brooklyn as well, and it's great to connect with you. And thank you. Yeah, we're very excited. We have the season premiere is this Friday, right after July 4th. It's very appropriate for City Island, which is a show about civics that we're going to be premiering the day after July 4th, which is on July 5th, Friday. We're going to have our first new episode of City Island for season 2.
I know it sounds great. I checked out a few of those episodes already, but we have to hear it from you. Is what do you suppose is the secret to success for City Island?
The secret to success with City Island. Well, I think wow, that's a good one. It's a funny show. I think that we have two main facets of the show that I think work well. One is it's a very interesting fantasy world, which is a world where all the objects are alive. There's no humans. Our rule is we have no characters have a central nervous system. So it's a lot of walking and talking bagels and jars and cars and hammers and lots of objects. Our world is objects. Our two main characters are Watt and Wendy, who are a light bulb and a kite. And so I think that the fact that we have this fantasy world where all the objects are alive are very exciting for kids to see. And it gives us a lot of possibilities because the environment itself is a character, and there's any moment of the show can be that the window on the building behind them wants to say something, or a cab drives in and has a joke to make. So the world itself is very exciting, and I think is very engaging for kids. And then in addition to the world, we have these characters. We have Watt, who's a light bulb. We have Wendy, who's a kite. Watt's dad is another light, and he's Frank Lloyd Light. Their friend Mark the Marker, Lydia the Hat, Sally. We have Sally and Piper, who are Salt and Pepper Shaker. So we have all these different characters in the show that all have distinct personalities and motivations. That was very important to us, that to make sure that there's no character that's just there to be there, that they all have something that they're looking to do in life in their own personality. So hopefully the combination of a kind of crazy world of anthropomorphic objects and then the characters themselves combine into a successful show.
Most excellent. And tell us about working with KPBS kids and trying to come up with the themes of these civic lessons in the second season.
Well, PBS Kids does curriculum-based entertainment better than anybody. And the most important thing for PBS shows is that every episode has to be meaningful in some way for the viewers. And for City Island, it's a civics-based show. So it's all about civics and social studies, which means what it means to be a member of your community, right? It's pretty simple when you look at it that way. And for us, it's important that we have a curriculum advisor named Liz Hind, and it's important for us that she's involved at the very beginning of the show. So when we are first brainstorming ideas for what's going to happen in the new season, the first thing we do is have a conversation with Liz. And we just talk about the ideas of civics. We talk about economics and geography and social studies, and brainstorm ideas from there. And then once we have some topics that we want to cover, that's when we go to the writing team, and then we all brainstorm together how to make it funny and how to make it entertaining and make it adventurous is also another important part of our show, is that it's not a traditional sitcom where every episode takes place in either a school or a house. Every episode takes place out in the city. So it's important to us to meld the meaningful content that comes from PBS with the entertainment cartooniness that we like to do.
I know I find it entertaining, especially your old episode of the City Sings, because I could play those songs all day. Do we have musical numbers for the second season?
We do. So because we were doing 30 episodes this season, we did 20 new episodes and then 10 music videos. we ended up doing the music videos at the same time as we were writing the new season. And we were getting so excited about the music. We have this incredible composer, Tunde Adebimpe, who you may know from the band TV on the Radio. He composed every one of our original songs for the music videos, as well as the score and theme song for City Island. So we were getting so excited about music that when we were writing the new season, we just naturally kept gravitating towards doing musical segments. So this season we have an episode where they go to Theater Street, which is our version of Broadway, and they learn how a show gets made. And we ended up doing it as a musical. So you have a bunch of characters from a typewriter to a light to a tap dancing shoe, all explain how they put on a show through song. We also have our first holiday episode, which has a classic holiday special type of ballad, which is amazing and really fun. And then we have a really exciting episode where we have a guest star, Rachel Bloom, who plays a character named Venus Flytrap, who is the biggest pop star in the City Island universe. And she teaches Watt how to write a pros and cons list by singing a pop song. So that was a lot of fun too. So there's a lot of really great musical moments in this season this year.
Funny you mentioned Rachel Bloom as a guest voice this season, but she's not the only guest voice this season, is she?
No, we have a lot of guest voices. We have one of my favorite actresses in the world, Rosie Perez, plays a character named Rosie Rivet, who is the borough president of Maker Hill. And Maker Hill is the 5th borough of City Island that we didn't get to see in season 1. And that's the industrial area of City Island where they make everything. They make anything from vehicles to food to electronics to woodworking. It's a real love letter to the hardworking people of the city that make things that everyone else enjoys. And the borough president just had to be Rosie Perez because she's one of my favorite actresses. And I'm a big Spike Lee fan. So the fact that I got to record Rosie Perez in Brooklyn, I recorded her at a Brooklyn studio called Full English. And that was one of the high points of my career. It was really exciting.
I'm curious, what do you model City Island to be as? Is it modeled after New York City?
It is. It is. I am a New Yorker. My studio has been in Brooklyn, New York for 25 years now. And I love this city so much. I find it endlessly inspiring. And just living in the city inspired the creation of the show. And now it inspires the episodes of the show. And anything from riding on the subway to going to the art museum to playing in the park are all things that happen in New York City on any given day, and it happens in our show. So the vibe of New York City is a big inspiration for us. But what's been exciting to me, I find that when you're telling stories as an artist, sometimes the more personal and specific you get, the more broad the appeal becomes. You'd think it was the opposite, right? That if you try to make things that are, non-specific, more people would like it. But actually, the more personal you get, the more people seem to relate to it. And for us doing a show about a city, it was a concern when we first, created the idea. Can this show about a city speak to someone that has never been to a city, or that lives in another country? And the answer is yes. Like, the City Island becomes a microcosm of a lot of things that everybody goes through around the world. Because in the end, we're telling a story about a community, and there's all kinds of different communities, and there's all kinds of different families. And the fact that it happens to be City Island is just sort of the setting of which, like, a lot of different relatable stories can be told.
What is your love for 2D animation yourself?
I am a cartoonist. I'm an animator. I've always drawn and I've always loved to draw and I love cartoons. So for me, it's just something I've always done. People say like, oh, when did you start drawing? I can't remember. I've just always been drawing. Some of my first memories, I was already had crayons in my hand and I was drawing pictures. So I just naturally have always drawn 2D animation and I just have always loved it. And, I appreciate CGI as well. And there's some beautiful CGI movies, but I tend to gravitate towards the things that I enjoy the most. And to me, it's always going to be comic books, hand-drawn cartoons, classic animation, things like Looney Tunes, Disney, Fleischer, Richard Scarry, Mary Blair. These are the people that inspire me the most and inspired me as a kid and inspire me today. So I always end up making animation that's like the things that I love the most. And that just so happens to be 2D hand-drawn animation. Now,
Well
look,
said.
I'll say this. We're drawing things by hand, but we're using computers as well. We're doing the latest possible technology we can do to make City Island. It just so happens that human hands are drawing it.
Well said. Well said. And in the case for City Island, what is the target audience in your words?
What's interesting is when we first made the pilot, it was meant for a preschool audience. And then when we tested the show, we were getting much older kids that were enjoying it as well. So our target audience is pretty broad. 6 to 11 is a good spot for us. But I've met parents of toddlers, 2-year-olds, that they said their kids love City Island, babies love City Island because the colors are bright. The kids just like to point to all the faces on the screen. There's clouds with faces and there's buildings with faces, and it's almost like a game like that. So the fact that the narrative might be a little bit older than them doesn't matter because it's just a fun, silly show to watch and the sound effects are fun. So we have a pretty broad audience for a kids show, and I know that PBS has been very excited about that they're getting older kids than they often get on a lot of their shows. So, but for us, it's also kids of all ages. And when you can kind of tap into that inner child and when you're writing stories and just remember things that made you laugh or stories of experiences you had as a kid, there's a lot of things that are in the show that I find autobiographical. So I would say the target is 6 to 11, but really we want all, people of all ages to enjoy it as well.
Most excellent. And Aaron, let me wrap it up with one last thing because you're also known for other series like The Jellies and Super Jail. How do you change your mindset going back and forth from adult themed animation and into something that's family friendly and educational like City Island?
One of the things I learned early on when we were just started making shows and we had the experience of going from one show to another is that, every show is its own animal, and you have to treat it very specifically for the spirit and the tone of the show that it is. And it's important to us that, if we're making an adult comedy for Adult Swim, that, we treat it like that, that we the characters, the animation style, the tone of comedy, the music, the pacing is exactly right for that type of show. Then when you're making a kids show for PBS Kids, and we want it to be this ultra upbeat, positive show where the humor is in a lot of the foibles of characters that are trying to do the best that they can, that's a different tone entirely. And you need to treat it for that tone. I think that, people talk about a lot of things with animation. They talk about, the gags and the visual style and the music. But I think that one of the things that people don't talk about enough is that tone. Tone is probably the most important thing for any show. That like the tone of the show, that the feel of it as you're watching it, it feels right. It feels consistent. It feels appropriate. There's a certain kind of comedy. That's the most important thing that we focus on when we're making a show is that it feels right for the show that it is, not that something else, not that a different kind of show, that not the last show we made or the show that we think it should be. It needs to be right for what it is, right? So to me, it's all about just, sort of concentrating on what you're working on at that moment and making it the best that it can be.
Well, City Island is certainly best for sure for these kids, and I love the fact that there's eyeballs on everything and anyone could interject. So
It's true. There are eyeballs everywhere. And, we have with the design of the show, the backgrounds, the characters, everything's alive. So everything in City Island is alive, and hopefully that adds to the experience.
it certainly does. Aaron, thank you very much for speaking to us about City Island, and it's just right around the corner. Everyone can check out the second season on KPBS.
Friday. Great. Thanks so much,